Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods for round 7 of the 2023 season. In this episode, Noddy and I go over the close loss against GWS at a rainy day in Sydney. So fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods.
Sydney Swans!
Okay, Swans fans, I welcome back to the potty the finest Central Coast rugby player that Japan has ever been lucky enough to witness. Welcome back, Noddy, to the potty.
Cheers, mate. Pleasure to be here again.
No worries. But before we get stuck into the game details, if you do enjoy our podcast and you want to support the Swans family generally, make sure to follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get this, and make sure to follow us in whatever social media takes your fancy. Now, with that out of the way, the game details. Last Saturday, our Sydney Swans were defeated by the GWS Giants by one single measly point, with a final score of 16-10-106 to 17-5-107. So, Noddy, mate, what did you think about that?
Well, I mean, I was bloody gutted. I think every single Swans fan was left totally exasperated. It was disappointing because we'd fought so hard to get back into the game. Like, we'd stayed with them in the first half. It was a close game. Like, let's acknowledge that. It was a good game in pretty crappy weather. We fought back in the third, got a lead, and just unfortunately couldn't keep it. They played well, and they have some pretty big stars on their team, and they stood up. And apart from those a few moments that we'll probably hash out through this therapy session over the course of this potty, we're going to talk about. But yeah, apart from those, it was a pretty even contest, a far better showing than what we dished up last week. So happy, sad, but mostly sad.
Happy, sad.
Yeah.
Happy, sad's a good way to suggest it.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think we played those big portions of it. Well, we played pretty well, and even Horse was suggesting in the post presser that the intent was there, the effort was there. Of course, executions and a few different pieces of the puzzle weren't there. Like our pressure in portions of the game wasn't really up to the Swanee standard. Really, it wasn't as consistent as we'd probably like it. And I dare say probably in the third that we really ran with it. Is that how you saw it as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at the worm, and you're watching the game, and we really came out hard after half time, and it looked like maybe if a few things had stayed in our favour, that we might have run away with it. And we're going to touch on our accuracy shortly, I think. But yeah, look, I watching Horse in the post game press conference, he must have said the word intent and effort like 30 times. I think that that was sort of. I think he was just as. I actually thought it was sad Horse. I thought he was going to cry. I thought he was so
I
sad.
got that too. He was pretty upset. It was unusual to see that the big man kind of really exasperated. Really.
Yeah, he was just like, but we showed such intent. Yeah. We just showed so much intent. But look, that's his. The point is that we, even with limited personnel, again, like we've still got some players out. We had a much better showing. And that's pleasing, but obviously not banking these close wins. It's the second now in recent times where we've lost heartbreakingly. I guess we were coming back against Port and couldn't get the win, but this one we definitely had the win and couldn't hold it. So look, I don't know. You think, and we're obviously gonna talk about the Pies as well. That's our team up next, and they've sort of made an art form of the close win over the past season and a half. So, you think about how galvanizing close wins are. What does it do to the mental mindset when you can't bank these close wins? So I'm a little bit worried, but I'm staying positive because I know we'll bounce back. It's a long season, and as Horse has said, if the intent is there, then we're gonna stand a chance to win.
Yeah, look, it's a bit of a shame, like what you're suggesting there. Galvanizing the team with a close win like that. Another way that you can galvanize a team having a win is just over like a milestone game. It was the 50th
Mm.
game for Goulden, 50th game for Laddams, and it was the 100th game for T-Mac, Tommy Mac, in his game back from concussion. So real shame that they couldn't use that energy to get over the line. I seen that Toby Green and his mob there were a little bit too good for us. And yeah, a couple of moments like let's get straight into the good, the
I
bad,
mean,
and the stats there.
50 games already for Goulden.
Yeah, that's
Wowzers.
quick, eh? Really quick.
God. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was already there. Look, the good, the bad, and the stats. We went inside 50. We won that convincingly. Just couldn't capitalize. To me, that was a big chunk of the game. Some pretty dire misses by some forwards there. Hayward from right in front, getting it behind. Buddy missing all the goals and kicking it outside from his 35 or so outs. Heaney doing the exact same thing from practically the same spot. These little moments, obviously, when we look at the numbers, would have been the difference in the game, but they just kick so damn straight. How could they do that, mate? You've got the numbers there. Like I think what you were talking off air, it was only 2 legitimate behinds that they kicked.
Yeah. They had 3 touched or rushed,
Mm.
sorry. So it's 17 goals, 2 behinds. That's 90% accuracy. I mean, that's incredible.
Wild.
That's
Yeah.
huge, right? And as you said, we were plus 15 inside 50s. We had 1 less goal than them. In that fourth quarter, right there, we had 10 more inside 50s, but they were able to score 50%. I think they scored 5 goals. Yeah, 5 goals for those 10 entries. So that's 50%. That's pretty bloody good.
That's very good.
Half
That's
the time,
sharp. Yeah.
and only having 10, right? So they'd really need, at least that, like 30% to stay in the game. But they're scoring 1 out of 2 times that they get in there. I think that's the game. Really, it was a close game. We played well. We had our moments. As I said, we came back in the third, but I think it was just accuracy. And obviously, like letting Toby Green do his thing at just the wrong time or the right time from their point of view. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I
mean,
remember
we're still missing
Horse
some
was
numbers in the
asked.
back line, mate. Like we're still missing
Yeah.
Foxy. We're missing Paddy
Rampy.
McCartan. We're missing Rampy, of course, the general back there. So it's no huge surprise that the defense was a bit of a sponge in that they're absorbing heat and not necessarily bouncing it back like they've arguably done. Not arguably that they had done last year and at the beginning of this season. So
Yeah, Horse was asked directly in that same conference that about that moment, and apologies if I'm bringing it up before we were planning to speak about it, but what happened, there was a handover, it went wrong, all this sort of stuff, but I think one of the journos said, was it a bad move to put Ollie on him? And he just said, "Well, who are you going to put on him?"
He was pretty. He was
He was pretty
about
animated,
that.
wasn't he? Yeah. I don't like. So he went from sad horse to assertive horse pretty quickly.
I think you don't mess with Ollie Florent in front of Horse. Like Horse loves Ollie Florent. Ollie Florent does the things that Horse wants him to do. And if he's so protective.
But as he rightly said, I think if you take away the types of goals he scored, there was a 50 in there. I think they only kicked 1 on on Ollie in the end. So it's just kind of frustrating. I was wondering maybe if you'd put Cunners on him, but I guess he was sort of playing a bit of a roving defensive role as well. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is, I mean, remember last time we were talking about this, it was like, how could you leave Kelly alone? And it was at that time it was Stevens and McInerney, I think, didn't step onto, so it doesn't matter. As Horse said, they've got danger players everywhere.
Yeah.
You've got to stand up in those moments, and it's one we weren't able to do.
Yeah, I mean that last moment, just to unfortunately reiterate to everyone at home, is the handover from Ollie Florence over to Brandon Campbell, where Braden didn't really pick him up and gave him way too much space, especially even on the broadcast and rewatching the game afterwards. Brereton, for as hopeless as I feel he is typically, but he did pick it up straight away. He says, like, look, the most dangerous person going into this contest is Toby Green, as everyone at home knows, and everyone in the stadium knows that. So
Yeah.
to see that amount of room be given to the best player, to almost the only player to pull him out of that, is frustrating. It's a learning experience for young Campbell, but it
I
makes a little
think
bit.
I feel like, sorry, Chris, I feel like
Yeah,
it
man.
was a team communication error,
Mm,
because if you look at the behind the goals vision, Green was pretty clever, right? He left his man, who initially was Ollie, right, and then he pushed on to Warner. So I don't know. Maybe at that point, like, Warner needs to stick with him. But
mm.
then obviously, Braden's, Ollie's gone on to someone else. Braden's the free man, so it looks like, he's the one who should have stayed with him. But it just, they're all relatively young guys. But the point is, you got to be wearing this guy like a glove. Like, he's
Yeah,
just,
too.
especially when he's in
Yeah.
such fine form, right? He was playing so well.
It was kicking him off the ground halfway in
Bastard.
between. The guy's a freak.
Bastard.
One thing about that was kind of a little bit lost in it all too. And look, we're going to talk about Ladham's game. He played really, really well. All right, we're going to get into
Very
that. But
well.
one moment that he would love to have back was that contest. It was throw in from the boundary. Ladhams versus Himmelberg. Ladhams
Oh,
didn't even
yeah.
contest. Didn't get a single hand at it. Himmelberg was 2 or 3 feet in front of him to get both hands onto the board to make something of it. That moment as well has kind of been lost amongst all of this. That
Was that
should have
that
been.
was in the same play, right?
That was the exact same play. That was the
So,
play that
okay,
led to Toby
Himmelberg
Green getting the ball.
definitely threw that.
Oh
He
yeah, he
got
threw
he
two-handed,
th-
just chucked it in front.
he just chucked it and let it go, and then Green scores the goal. It was the same play, right?
Same play. Yeah.
Yeah.
It bounced it and hit someone else, and then Toby got it
Oh
and
my
went from there.
God.
But that's one that Ladhams should have contested as well. That's one where we wanted to lock it down. That's one where
Yeah.
every single player, you would have had two players on Toby. Every player should have been like, this is the last ditch effort. It's 40 seconds to go. We're in the back lines, the most dangerous spots we can be in. Shut that ball down. And Ladhams didn't even get close to the freaking ball. So that's one thing I did want to pick up that I don't think too many people have noticed as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, when you compare to how he has, some of the things he's done in recent weeks, where they've been just so
Yes,
obvious
you're
skill
right.
errors.
Okay, look, let's get straight into that then, because that's
Okay.
one thing. He just has at least once per game, he just does something ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he played really well, though. Like, this is the type of game we want to see more often. We know that he can do this stuff. It's just about patching it together, stringing these games together to get some consistent performances. But as we all know, he's young. Rucks take time to develop.
Yep.
It's all good. But
There's a lot of pressure on that big man. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got a couple of, while we're on it, mate, we've got a couple of nicknames rolling around ourselves for the the big lad, the good lad, the bad
good lad, yeah.
Sammy, superfan, Sam came up with the Vortex after his kicking style. That was pretty cool. It just kind of spins weirdly like that Nerf ball, the Vortex, sort of long, high looping
energy,
and just sort of got that goal he kicked was a cracker. And Matt suggested the Matrix because is he a glitch in this?
Every now and then he glitches. Yeah,
it glitches, or is he a mirage? I like that. One other thing I've noticed is maybe he wears contacts because he tends to blink a lot at center bounces. I don't know if you've noticed this. So
maybe he's just a lizard.
He's just got sticky lids, man. He's just got sticky eyelids.
Sticky lids.
Sticky lids, Ladhams.
Well, Mason Cox started wearing glasses because he didn't want to wear contacts, or maybe his eyesight doesn't allow him to wear contacts, a la like me. So that could be it. And maybe we just need to get him a nice pair of Oakleys or something. We can sort this
Oakleys,
all out.
man, drug runner. I tell you what, he would definitely have like schmick hipster, thick rimmed, like hipster sports glasses. I think
basically what Grundy looks like on weekends is the kind of thing that he'd be wearing. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we'll keep that competition
we're getting
going.
a bit down the path, but a couple of other interesting stats to go with it. Clearances, mate. We smashed them in clearances, especially center clearances, plus 13, 22-9 in a center clearances, and that was a big part of what Ladham's game was so dominant there, and he got a couple out for himself to make with it. That was tidy. But that's not been too dissimilar to what we've done of recent. We've typically won those center clearances and stoppage clearances. We haven't done that well, but this time around we did generally pretty good. But the defensive stoppages is what Horse brung up as well. That just killed us. They scored the last 3 from stoppage clearances, which really killed them. Too much for us, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was nice to get a spread of goal kickers.
Yep.
Right. Buddy 3, Hayward 3, Logan also 3. Yep, 3, 2. So that was cool. But yeah, as we said, they're just too inaccurate. In these moments that just you want back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, mate. They had plus 21 tackles for the game. That was pretty big.
Yeah, that's massive.
It's good pressure.
That's a bit of a indicative of one thing that I noticed during the game. I was actually having a chat with Sam about it while we were at the SCG. We were dragging a lot of people into the contest, and they were just handballing it to the outside, going straight over the top of us and just running on. Have a look at the amount of times that we've got 3 players chasing 3 of their players as they're just streaming forward, handball it 2 or 3 times each time. That's what the stats for handballs, so that they were plus 32 in disposals, with the majority of those being handballs. I think it was like 28 or something in handballs. That was all indicative of what I saw and what Sam saw, that they were just moving the ball quickly with the handballs out to the outside and just taking off, and we were always playing behind. So although the midfield played a lot better, it's still like minus 21 in tackles, minus 32 in disposals. That's not a contested game that we want. That is we're chasing tails rather than actually being able to make an impact at those contests. So we're a little bit behind still. The midfield is not churning away as much as we want it to be yet, but it did look definitely better, and the intent was there, as Horse mentioned as well.
Yeah. We also had more turnovers, so that was kind of frustrating. Yeah, look, I don't know. It was just I just think it was a close game. We stuck with them in the first half, bounced ahead in the third, and just couldn't hold out. So I think it was accurate. For me, I think it was accuracy. All these other things you can if you take your moments, you can probably grind out the game. But
any one of those 3 kicks from those forwards, Heaney, Hayward, Clark, Buddy,
Clark,
any one of those 3 would have made all the difference. Like, they were very gettable goals. A couple of them from 25 out. These aren't. That's fine if you miss one, but when 4 of your forwards miss them, that's when you're like, come on, guys, like, you're really killing us.
Yeah.
On a positive note, though, Logan played really well, and I think I understand statistically the best player rating wise, the best game that he's played ever, which is a really positive thing to see, and just shows that his progression, even with Buddy on the pitch, which has always been something that Swans fans are mentioning, was good. 3 goals and plenty of touches and everything else in between.
Yeah, he looked sharp, and some of his goals were very nice. You are going to bring up some points, I think, on him.
Yeah, I had so Jamal Ugle-Hagan went, is it the 2020 draft year, alongside Logan? So Ugle-Hagan was pick number 1. Logan McDonald, of course, we got for pick number 4. Surprising that Kangaroos didn't pick him up. And so you would imagine, those 2 are kind of in a mix of 2 big forwards. Everyone's primed up to see them probably battle each other for a long time going forward. And in terms of stats between the 2, they are pretty much in alignment, with Logan McDonald only just beating Ugle-Hagan on most of the stat sheet, including marks, disposals, goals, kicks, handballs, tackles, every single category. He's pretty much just beating out Ugle-Hagan. So that's a really good start, mate. I'm liking what I'm seeing with his progression. But we all are pretty excited about seeing him out, mate.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're both pretty ordinary, to be honest. Like, but they're tracking quite similar with Logan ahead. But I mean, they're young key forwards, so it's going to take a couple of years. But pleasingly, he's our second highest goal kicker behind Tom Plapley. So Paps is on 16, and Logs Jumbo is on 14.
Right, good to see.
So
Didn't we
pretty
say at the
close.
beginning of the season during our play review that like 30 would be a nice number for him?
Yeah, I mean
He's tracking well.
that would have been a dream. Yeah, I mean he's halfway there basically. So
Yeah,
at round what are we 7?
7. Yeah.
So yeah, that's very pleasing. Yeah, I guess we just need some of these other guys that have completely dropped off, like
Mm.
Heaney, Hayward to a lesser extent, because he's coming third on 9,
Mm.
Buddy 7, Heaney 7.
Maybe
Yeah,
McLean to
anyway,
get a couple. Yeah.
yeah, Party's on 6, but he won't be back till after the bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
A- a-
anyway,
Another thing with Logan, while we're at it, while we just wrap this one up, is that his season averages actually match Jesse Hogan, which I think we can all suggest that he's, a well-seasoned AFL player with enough freaking time under his belt. So, I mean, if you're getting that kind of output from your, was he third or second year?
yeah, about that, yeah, third.
Yeah, player, then forward, then you're doing all right, And a big chunk of that is, the last couple games where he's kind of really, really come into his own. But anyway, it's good to see. I think that's a positive stat that it's worthwhile bringing up, given the game didn't go our way, but the younger players, like a Logan, are trending decently, and we'll go through them players anyway.
While we're touching on through this conversation our favourite moments and
Yep.
missed chances, I will bring up this point that's here, that chest bump off Sheether,
Yeah.
who debuted fantastic, but that was that was pretty funny.
That was
I
pretty
think
good.
it was Heaney, wasn't it? Just belted it low and
Yeah.
it hit his chest and went about 20, 25 metres in the air. And then Warner scored after that, which is cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, that
And
was a good
Sheether
one.
got a score assist for his trouble, so score involvement for like bouncing it off his chest. So that's worth it. It's worth the stat sheet.
Definitely. Missed chances, I will say, Toby Bedford, I think was a really, really good acquisition by GWS over the trade period. And we were when we were at the game, and he put the Jets on, more like, holy crap, he is so fast. He was just burning guys, but just forgetting to bounce the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he pinged twice. I think they made comment of it throughout the game, the commentary, but that was pretty funny, I thought. But
That was good for us because you couldn't catch him.
oh
Ollie had a
man,
good crack, but no.
he's so fast, and you think of like a player like that. I guess we've got a fair few small forwards, or we had before. Injury hit with the likes of Wicks and Clark is just coming back, and Constanti obviously not there yet. But yeah, you look at these players that get picked up over the trade period, and you think, oh, when are we going to be
Could have been.
active? But yeah,
Could have been.
anyway. But the other thing I think you want to touch on was the close losses.
Yeah. So this was actually brought up by Swans Insider on Twitter in our weekly chat that we do on 8 p.m. on a Sunday night, where we kind of get together and we have a quick chat. It goes for about, say, 15, 20, 30 minutes. I actually can't remember. It kind of goes so quickly. But he brought up that close games aren't doing us any favors. And so he went through and had a quick look at the numbers. Since 2020, so I didn't include the 2019 year, so 2020 onwards, we've played 71 games with a win rate of 56%. Any games that went down to 6 or less points, we have a win rate of 38%. So that's 20%, 2 in 10, way, way, way less regular wins. It definitely is something that is trending out against us, and seems that even when we were in the crowd at the game, Noddy, this is probably more anecdotal than it is statistical, but while we're at the game, we were calling out how much time was left. So 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left, 2 minutes. We're going out because we could see, not even subconsciously, we're conscious of it. We could see that the game was trending against us as the team started playing more defensive. And at that point, it felt similar to the Pies game, where it was just a matter of time before they got on top or had the opportunity to get on top. And we were just kind of going, please run that bloody clock down because we are struggling here. Similar to the Pies game at the prelim, if they had another 30 seconds on the clock, chances are they win that game, right? That's the way the game was trending. Unfortunately, we ran out of time and they got their opportunity, and Toby Green took it. So close losses are something that's kind of trending against us in these recent years, and something I'd imagine that the staff would be looking at, because we're about to play Collingwood, who's made an art of this, as you mentioned earlier in the potty, and it's going to be a scary thought, mate. What do you think to all that?
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting numbers. I think, yeah, like I just go to the point of like if you win a close one, I think it has um, a much greater effect than losing a close one. Like if you look at and again we'll probably bring this up when we chat about the preview, that 1 point win that the bloody Pies got over Adelaide in Adelaide, right? And similarly, the Crows kicked a shitload of behinds. Um, it was basically the flip side of this game. Basically,
Yep.
like GWS was Collingwood, both playing away. Less of a grudge match. No, it wasn't a derby, but I don't know. It was just, and you can see they're loving it. The Pies fans are loving it. Oh, another close one.
Yeah.
We'll just beat them by a point. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll just get them by a couple.
It's all good. We'll come back. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just it's worrying. I'd rather be winning close games than losing close games for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
don't
mean,
like being in close
that's
games
kind of a
generally,
dumb. Yeah, it's a dumb statement. I'd rather be
Yeah.
winning than losing. Cool.
Yeah, would you rather
Genius.
lose by a little amount or
Yeah.
a large amount? I tell you what, from the Cats game to this one, I'd
Oh,
rather lose
man.
by a little amount. But anyway, that's just me.
Ah,
Mate,
Cats.
any other favorite moments, missed chances to consider before we move on to the Bob medal?
No, look, I think that was probably about it. I mean, look, obviously there's been a bit of talk of Harry Himmelberg being a trade target. He's coming at the end of his contract, and he might. I think it's on the record. It certainly made its way into articles that he is a player of interest for us. And look, he was okay. He kicked a couple of goals, had some nice touches. I guess he's that kind of Sam Reid swing role, but I guess that's kind of what Aaron Francis is, and I guess Paddy McCartan to a certain extent before he went out recently. But yeah, look, I thought from what I saw of him, he seems like a decent enough player, but I don't know, maybe not one to break the bank getting. Hayden McLean took a lot of defensive marks. I thought he was pretty effective. We can talk about him if he made the honourables.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I think I'm good, mate. Favorite moments. That was about it.
Yep.
Favorite
Okay.
moments. Yeah.
Well, we'll get into the Bob medal, which is our equivalent of the Bob Skilton medal. We give 3 to 1 points to the best Swans player in each game, with the highest points this week receiving, I'm not sure, Noddy. I haven't really prepared anything, but I make a really mean steak sandwich, and I am going down to Melbourne. So what I will do is I'll deliver a steak sandwich to the winner of the Bob medal for this week, which just so happens to be 3 points on Parker, 2 points for Laddams, and 1 point for Errol Goulden. Mate,
Nice one.
Parker, do you want to take it away with him?
I think he's really who Horse was talking about primarily. He was phenomenal. He very nearly won his 6th Brett Kirk medal, stopped only by that bloody grub, Toby Green, the wonderful Toby Green. Sorry. Look, Park's 33 disposals, best on ground, 13 contested possessions, 4 tackles, 11 clearances, best on ground, 12 score involvements, best on ground. He kicked a goal at one point, which was pretty cool as well. Parker just doing what he does against the Giants. I mean, there's been a few games where he probably hasn't been as kind of Parker of old, but this was one of the games where he just sort of stood up and really helped drag us almost over the line. And bloody Toby Green.
Right. Here's a theory that I've just come up with in my head just now, and I've got no stats to back it up with. But,
I love it.
Parker, we know, plays amazingly against GWS, always does. Hence was it 6 or 5?
5. It would have been his 6th if he'd won this one, yeah.
So 5 Brett Kirk medals. That's pretty good showing. And he was definitely on par to do that again if we got over, if that last kick didn't happen. I got a theory, and he has not had his best season to date as of now. So maybe I got a bit of a theory. What if it takes to play GWS, because we typically played them earlier in the season because the whole Sydney boat at the bridge, whatever that means. Maybe it takes the GWS game for him to really pick up his game, and then that's the season that takes off from there. Maybe he just sets up his process in his preseason to basically start to peak at the GWS game and then take it off from there. What do you think about this? What do you think about this absolutely no homework thought of mine?
Yeah, mate, sure. If Parker then goes on to have polls 20 points in the Brownlow, I'd
Yep.
be happy to back this up and say, here, you said it first on this on a bevy of bloods, mate. But yeah, look, it's possible. It's possible. I mean, yeah, I just you just want him to. Yeah, he can't do everything every week,
Mm.
and Mills. There's been games where sometimes it's Parks, sometimes it's Mills. Because we are still young, and the Giants were young as well. We were talking before we recorded. We think the difference probably is Buddy. His age obviously doesn't make too much of a difference, but his games played, the experience there really drags that up over the line. So we had the advantage there, but didn't really matter in the end. But I mean, we all know what happens with the Giants anyway. They get all these gun Victorians and South Australians, and then they all go home, as we saw.
The nursery for the VFL, basically. That's what happens.
Basically, we saw Taranto and Hopper go over to the Tigers last season. Hopper for almost nothing, mind you.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, look, that's probably all we can say about Parks, other than he's probably looking forward to that steak sandwich, I think, after that showing, mate. So
Yeah.
he'll probably love that.
Awesome. Good. I make a good one. Bit of hot English mustard and everything. To prove my point, last season we played GWS in round 1.
Right.
There you go. Bang. All the homework you need, friends.
God.
Take this bevy of bloods. What would you say? Thoughts or theories or tinfoil hat conspiracies to the bank is what I'm suggesting.
Off the cuff comments to the bank.
Straight to the bank.
Dome.
Bank
Yeah,
that
okay.
bad boy. All right, 2 points to the good lad Laddams, mate. Best game as a Swan.
Yeah, I reckon
Progressing really
that's
nicely.
a fair. I reckon that's his best game for the Swans for sure, and maybe in his career. I mean, I only watched patches of his showings at Port, but I thought that was a pretty well rounded game, mate. I mean, you've got the numbers.
Yeah, I was really excited. I love my numbers for the ruckman because they've got a few more interesting stats that are only unique only to them. 34 hitouts, best on ground, 4 tackles, 24 disposals, 76 ruck contests with 45% win rate. So that's a very good win rate. Anything north of 40 is very, very good. The one caveat to this, though, very low on the hit to advantage at 9%. Some of the others were sitting at about 20, so double that basically. Nonetheless, a great showing by the good lad, albeit that last ruck contest in that forward pocket, or in that back pocket of ours. So pretty happy. He's progressing well. We've kind of been defending him a fair bit on the potty for the last few weeks, and in particular last week. So yeah, mate, what do you think? Just getting at it, really. It's just nice to see him progressing well.
Yeah, look, I've said multiple times over last year and maybe the year before, whenever we got him, I was for the trade. I think it's a good trade. Obviously he's shown a trend of real brain explosions, and that's sustained. So obviously, if you can remove those,
yeah,
and then patch together games where you're effective at the contest, at the clearance, and you have some scoreboard impact, it's unreal. Like it's, we're seeing some of his potential, and you just hope he can run with it. That's all. I hope he can keep playing like he's playing, because like the more games that this young core get to play together, it's exciting and it's enticing, and Laddams hopefully will be a big part of that. So go the good lad, Vortex Matrix, lad. Sticky lids Laddams, loving it.
Sticky lids Laddams, that's pretty good.
Sticky lids.
Oh, mate. All right. 1 point, the Bevy Brains Trust did go back and forth a little bit just to kind of understand what we're going to do here. There's a few names we could have thrown out. We'll get it through in the honourable mentions. But Gordon with the 1 point. Noddy, what do you reckon? What were some of the numbers on him?
Mate, he was, like I think he tried really hard. Spent some time on the wing, 7 inside 50s, 431 meters gained, 27 disposals, 14 of which contested, 6 clearances, 6 tackles. That beautiful kick, I probably should have brought up in favorite moments. That kick to
Oh yeah,
Heaney,
down the center. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, just
Mm,
pinpoint accurate. We looked at each other when we saw that in the
yeah.
stands, and we just had like little love hearts floating out of our heads. But no, look, yeah,
It wasn't even related to the game either. That just happened.
oh, that was. Oh, sorry. Are
Yeah,
we on
yeah,
air?
yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah,
Um,
whoops. Yeah.
no, the other thing, he's so competitive, right? He's a competitive beast and so
Mm,
young. Although he's obviously racked up the 50 games. I think you couldn't see it from the broadcast, but where we were sitting, it was in the O'Reilly stand. He smashed the ground when the siren went. He was like hit. He was punching the ground. He was so angry that
mm.
we'd lost. And I love seeing stuff like that.
Yeah,
I love the emotion. I love the fact that he was like, God damn it, that was ours. But
yeah.
he can't do everything.
No, and I mean, I think you were the first to call it, and we've been calling it for a while. That's our future captain right there.
Oh yeah,
I don't think there's a doubt in that. I think that's just a matter of time. And so being so young, 50 games in, you kind of turn to him a little bit more. Like you turn to him to be the
yeah,
player to
yeah,
get engaged when the game gets tough, and he loves it. He
yeah,
thrives on the competition.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, really happy with that.
And we were just while we're on him, mate. We,
Mm,
we spent a fair bit of time on the bevy chat throughout the week talking about, where is his best position at this point in
mm.
his career? Should he be spending so much time in the middle as he had been in the past couple of weeks, or is it better for him to get back on the wing and use that kick? So we probably saw more of that latter on the wing this week. But what did you think? Because I know Matt and Steve-O got a position, on his development in terms of, should you be giving him time inside so he can become, basically, hopefully, all going well, the league's best inside-out player. Um, but
Yeah.
he's not going to do that if he's spending time on the wing. But um,
Well,
yeah,
my position on it's been since I can't remember which round was it that I did the potty with Steve-O, maybe Hawks or something, where I was suggesting that I'd like to see him less inside, and I would want to see him with the ball on the outside a lot more.
Mm. I
So
think it was
I've
Port, and I think Jules did
there you go.
Hawks. I think,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, thank you, Port. Yeah, so I am still there. From what I saw this week, it seemed like a little bit more 50-50, which
maybe
seemed
did
to
do it.
work really well. And I was really happy
Mm,
with that. And
mm.
I mean, the numbers that he has there, that's not his best numbers for any, but they are the best numbers consistently across the defensive aspect of the game and the more like offensive aspect of the game. So I'm pretty happy with the way the numbers went, also from what I saw. So I'm really happy with that. I did want to see him more on the outside more often, and I've been calling this out for a little while, but doesn't mean I'm always right. God knows I get it wrong, but I'm happy with the way that went. Yeah.
Mm. Well, obviously, Juzzy got omitted. It
Mm.
was omitted from the team this week, so you've got to put someone there. And there was a fair bit. Like there were times where Mills and Rowie were starting on the wing, so they
Yep.
they certainly they swing around. It's not like they're stuck with one position while they're on the field.
Mm.
And I guess that's all part of the learning curve. They want to be able to put the guys wherever. It depends on matchups as well. So. But anyway, yeah, Errol was good again.
There was 1 point there for Errol, and I dare say he's been one of the more consistent players in the honorables and the BOB. So let's find out what that looks like soon enough. Honorable mentions, if you don't mind, I might just kick off with
Yep.
Francis. Aaron Francis in the back line looked way more relaxed, seemed more himself, had some nice moments, a couple of punches and everything else. 13 1%ers, which was best on ground, which is typically something that's reserved for only Tommy McCartan, who normally takes that away and runs it for himself. And see Francis doing that was really good, because that's those little things, the little moments, the spoils, the shepherds, those little things that help your team out that no one quite notices. 13 of them is a very big number for Aaron Francis. So
It is. I think it was
love it.
Tommy McCartan had 13 or something the other week, and we were loving it.
We're
But I
gushing
think
over it. Yeah.
at what point does a 1%er become a 2%er when you fist it the way that Aaron Francis does? Okay, so I think it was on at least 2 occasions he fisted it, and it went just meters, like 20 meters,
20, 30 meters
into the crowd, and we were like, look, just oh my god. Just golden fists of fury. At that point, it's like, notch it up, champion data. That's a 2%er.
Yeah, it's maybe he only had like 6 and 1%er, and they just counted it as a couple.
Yeah,
Maybe
a couple of knocks on him. Obviously, he's still because I think they were gearing up to playing more forward. He's playing a role now down back. But, he was burnt a couple of times by the young Cadman.
Yeah.
But that's sort of positional and I think transitional, so can't be too harsh on him there. The other thing, that last hack kick into the inside 50 with a couple of minutes to go, you think, oh, man, Parks was like basically free, lower your eyes. But it's all heat of the moment, and he's learning our systems again. I'm certainly not, hard on him. I thought he was looking good. So it's really nice to have a player of his caliber that we've got, considering all these injuries that we've got in the back line. So
and he was up against Hogan a fair few times, and it seemed like he had the better of him.
I think he did better on Hogan than he did Cadman. I think it was a speed thing, but I think he was just some beautiful fists there. Just
the big fist, Francis.
Francis of Fistus. We'll figure that. We'll work on that one.
We'll come back to you all.
Yeah,
come back to you all.
We'll
Mate, what about you? Any honourable mentions?
Okay. Look, Hayward. I think. I think that's fair. Played his best game of the season. 3 goals. Obviously, that disappointing miss, but that's all right. Just in his involvement, he looked hungry. 10 scoring involvements, 16 disposals, 3 goals, 1 behind, 7 marks, which was the most on ground. So I thought he had a good game.
Yep. I'll pick up Warner. I think Warner's very unlucky to not get a point as well. Albeit I was pushing for Gordon, but 8 inside 50s, 28 disposals, half of them contested, 557 meters gained, a goal and 6 clearances, which I think was second for the Swans. So equal second with the Swans alongside Gordon. So a really, really great showing by Warner. Probably still, for what I saw, a couple of moments where a bit lazy to get a tackle on and a bit lazy to follow up, but not
a couple of crunching moments though. He absolutely flattened Angwin at one point.
That's right.
That was
he loves the smasher guy.
Oh man.
But I think I would like to see him just apply a little bit more pressure. With the outside guys in particular, because he's got speed, and that speed is something on the outside that you
and we know he can do it. He basically, the way he got into the team originally was because he was smashing the senior guys at training. Right?
I had to tell him to slow down, right?
Slow down, stop hurting all our key guys. But the other thing I think we chatted about before we started recording was some of his kicking looks a bit loopy this year. So he sort of made a name for himself very quickly last year, charging out of the center square and hitting the 50 and then kicking these beautiful goals. He kicked maybe 15 or so last year. He's kicked a lot more behinds this year. I don't know what it is. It's definitely a majority of behinds. But he's still getting those moments. He's getting on the end of these bursts that just are amazing, and really only a handful of players can do it. But his kicking is sort of letting him down a bit as well. I think we talked about his kicking efficiency in an episode in the past couple of weeks, but it's more about the goal kicking, because that was a missed chance, right? That last kick that he made. And he almost, and I think it was Buckley or Cummings or whoever, they marked it right on the line. So we couldn't even get the point, right? But I feel like if that had been him last year, that he would have just absolutely smashed that and got it through. But, it was a kind of, the weather wasn't great. It was a little bit, greasy. There was a little bit of wet around, and, Tommy Papley was slippy and sliding everywhere. But so that's my only thing, I don't know. How do you?
No, I think that's fair. And your suggestion there was 4 goals, 8 behind. So it's definitely not his sharp self. That's for this year. And he had 10 meters to run into, and that 10 meters would have been the difference in that goal. And it was straight. It was the straightest kick he'd kicked for some time. It felt
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
that was a bit of a mischance as well.
Yeah.
One
Yep.
last one would probably be Lloydie. I think Lloydie is also unlucky to get a point. He played a really good game defensively. He had head over the ball a lot of times. He was really tough at it. Bit unusual. Well, not unusual. Last year was a big changing moment for him, being less so just the fair user to then being part of the whole effort for defensive pressure and everything. And yeah, this game he was really, really good. I felt it was great. Well, quick numbers, 25 disposals, 3 tackles, but he was going in really hard into the contest, and I really enjoyed that. So love to see that from Lloydie.
Can I get one more? I'll get one more in.
Yeah, of course, please.
Hayden McLean.
Yeah.
Obviously under a bit of pressure, I think, the past couple of weeks to justify his spot. Obviously helped with
Amadi going out.
Amadi getting injured, and then sort of, I think Gould not retaining his spot there. So, or just the makeup of the team that they go with. Sorry, the main point is Hickey isn't back yet. He's underdone, so he's the backup ruck. Obviously, he was good. He was good. He had 27 ruck contests. These are numbers that are pleasing to see. 19% hit outs to advantage, so that's better than Lads, right? Mm-hmm. Fewer, obviously, but 60% wins there. 5 1%ers, which was third on ground. I have been saying this for years, and it was I just kept looking at like Amati and McLean being pretty much, they're kind of similar players, right? They're backup. They're basically forward rucks, and if you've got Logan and Buddy in the same team, and it was Reed until he was out at the beginning of this year, there's not enough room for all of them, but they're decent enough. They're good, like they're best 22 players, right? And if we've got this much decimation to our back line with Paddy and Rampy, and who's our other tall?
Foxy came out for a
bit. Yeah, Foxy, right? So third tall for sure. Then, put him back. See how he goes at key defender. He's tall enough. He knows how to mark it. He's got a huge tank on him, right? And in this game, he did drift back and he was pretty good defensively. So I put it out to you guys in the Bevy chat like fairly regularly. I won't say once a week or whatever, but it's like, hey, McLean, key defender, anyone? ...
Question mark,
and then just radio silence. But no, my only point is because we spoke about him earlier, Harry Himmelberg. If he's the guy that we're chasing, we've got a really good, a good player that could play that role. Why not look at that? And then chase a genuine A grader. But anyway, this episode is not a list strategy episode. I just wanted to fold that point into the honorable mentions there.
Yeah, that's fair. And what I like seeing about him in this game in particular was he always got into the contest. He got hands on it. He impacted the contest. If he was close by, he impacted it in the right way.
I agree.
One-on-ones, he's very good at one-on-ones. And he's go back into some games, even when Amati is taking a mark, a bit of a contested mark and then going for goal, you actually see Hayden McLean actually take out a guy, not because he's wiping the guy out illegally, but because his body's in the way and he's a unit and he's going to contest that mark. And I'm a big fan of the way he goes about it, whether he's the best player in the team, no. Whether he's going to keep his spot guaranteed, no. But yeah, he's a pretty fine player and he does a lot of things that get unnoticed probably, but do get noticed by the coaches, I'd suggest. That's why he keeps his spot sometimes. All right, matey, let's get straight into the post game. Only injury that I could understand even got close to existing was Papley was cited in a moon boot after the game. He was limping during parts of that game. Other than that, I don't know of much, and I haven't heard much about Papley unless you have.
No. You know more on Paps than I do. I think Rowie went off at some point during the game, but obviously was fine. He played it out. I think that might have been an arm. But yeah, no, all good there, thankfully. I guess no other sightings or anything like that. Yeah.
So straight into replacements, mate.
I think so. Yeah.
Wait, so Sheeda and Sheldrick. Sheldrick didn't make a massive impact on the game, as probably all of us were really excited to see him. Granted, he wasn't playing his inside role like he typically does play. But now with Hickey coming back, potentially, question mark, because he's played one VFL game since being injured, this for the whole season. There was a bye last week and a bye this week, so wasn't an opportunity to play since then. Do you see Hickey walking back into the team?
I probably don't. And I think, and then maybe this is similar to what you're thinking as well, and this will make more sense when we go through the matchups in the preview. But I think that we can probably get the job done with Lads and McLean. But again, that's sort of jumping a segment ahead. If we just go back to Sheether and Sheldrick, I think Sheether obviously had been playing well in the VFL. But not as well as Sheldrick. Sheldrick had been the best player in the VFL
Killing
for
it,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'll make a point here. Regina, who's one of the Swans fans that sits next to us, her and her husband Philip, they've been in the same seats for 24 years and always chat to them during the game. They are hardcore Swans fans. They are awesome. She made the point that it looked like they'd just thrown Gus Bus into the middle on Steve Cornelio, who was basically on fire as well. We haven't really spoken about him. He was instrumental. He kicked a couple of goals, and he Gus got scorched basically, and I was like, oh, maybe throwing him in the deep end. And she was just like, a tactical error. And I was like, or some words to that effect, right? I think it's unfair to think that he shouldn't hold based on that. Like, it wasn't a great game. We all remember that one game that Roberts had last year against the Tigers where it was a deer in headlights, then went back to the VFL, got up his confidence. And he was like one of our really, he was looking great this year until his injury, which is a shame. But I think that you persist with Sheldrick, and then if you need an athletic person off the bench, then Sheether is there. But same could be said for Gould, right? You persist with Gould, true, especially with this much chaos in the back line. I think that's Steve-O's point. So I guess my question would be to you is, do we stick with the same back line or make any changes there?
Yeah, look, we're getting back in the back line Foxy. So you make room for Foxy.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you put him? Does Clark hold in his position there? No, because he was playing more forward, wasn't he? So Foxy, you get a question mark over Foxy whether he comes back in. You suggest yes, because every time he's on the ground, it seems like he's the most.
I think Foxy's a lock
player.
Yeah, Foxy's a lock.
And then you talk about Aaron Francis. Where does he roll? Does he stick his position as well? Probably. There's Gould is also, as you mentioned there, an option. And so I don't know between Gould and Francis which one of those two gets the biscuits, really. But
should I suggest
time?
Yeah, should I suggest that we do combine this into the?
I mean, there's no such thing as segments. We can just talk about it. Yeah. So next week we're playing Collingwood. Obviously Collingwood. What are they? 6-1 at the moment.
Yeah.
With the one loss against Brisbane, where it was only because they didn't kick straight enough. Arguably, they also lost. Won a game where the other team didn't kick enough, but nonetheless. So the matchups there, we've got Miocek, Elliott, Ginnivan, the forward line, a couple other boys I'm probably not mentioning.
Ash Johnson. So the talls they've got there, Miocek, Johnson, and Kruger. But he's sort of the backup ruck. And so that's the point, so Darcy Cameron, ex-Swan, and Mason Cox are both out injured. So they're not ruckmen, They're two key rucks. They're out. So they've been running with Frampton, who started the year as a defender, came over. They got him from Adelaide last year, but he's been pushed in because he's 200 plus centimetres, and he played a bit of ruck at both Adelaide and Port. And then Kruger obviously backs him up. He's 196 or 7 or whatever. So the point is they're not super tall up front. They have a bit of height up back, but I think probably Lads and McLean can handle that. But then in terms of whether you need really tall defenders or big body defenders, then maybe Tommy McCutton and Francis are enough there.
Yeah. Probably. And Foxy kind of runs on everyone else, really.
Elliott or Ginnivan or McCreary, like any of these sort of,
Yeah.
they're all quite dangerous, to be honest. So
Yeah, I saw McCreary kick that goal, just freaking sprinted out of nowhere and busted it out. Like they're a dangerous unit up forward, even
yeah,
without like the arguably massive names in the key forward
yeah,
position.
he's strong as well. So,
Mm.
so yeah, if you think of those matchups, then yeah, Fox is in, and then you'd probably say that yeah, he's going to be going to either Myercheck, even though Myercheck's heavier and taller, or I don't know, Elliot, maybe just to nullify his impact. But
Mm.
so going back to who makes way, does Sheldrick leave for Fox?
I'd say
Because
so. Yeah.
Sheether will probably come out again, whether or not he's the 23rd. Yeah, so Sheldrick maybe, which is a
Maybe
bit
he gets another
unfortunate, I guess.
emergency run at it.
Does Juzzy come back in?
Well, he's not. I mean, what was the reason why he left? Did he leave to work on something? In that case, he didn't have any opportunity to work on anything at the VFL level.
Yeah.
Was it? Has he been carrying an injury that's kind of slowing him down? I mean, I dare say no, because he's been moving fine.
Mm.
For what we can see anyway, with our naked eyes, untrained eyes, we're not physicists. So I don't know
Matt
really.
is Matt from the Bevy is really keen on him having just trialing him in the guts just to see how
Yeah,
he goes on the inside. But
yeah. Last
yeah,
year they did that earlier in the season as well, and a couple of times, and yeah, he
mm,
loves it. He's similar to a Gordon, where he loves that aggressive
mm,
run, and maybe he
mm,
just doesn't feel challenged enough. I don't know. Like maybe is it a mental state, and that he's not getting his hands on the ball enough. He's not tackling blokes. Maybe that's what really drives him, and
mm,
doing the boring thing. But the boring and most important thing of a winger is running around, supporting everything, and moving the ball forward, and being an out
mm.
man, and being everywhere at the right time, at the right place, right time. That's not really. He's not enjoying it, or maybe it's just kind of a little bit beyond him this year, and he's not really thinking of it.
It's unclear. Do you think? I think Dill Stevens probably played, well enough to hold.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the talk has been both Juzzy and Dill aren't there yet. They're both very young, but they're hopefully going to be very very good wingers going forward. But I guess the other big one here is I think Buddy had his knee strapped up.
Mm.
Is Buddy going to be okay? Like if
The
Buddy comes
suggestion,
out, that changes sort of the structure again, doesn't it?
yeah. So I mean, from what we started with this, with like the ruck situation, we feel comfortable with because we don't necessarily need Hickey and we don't need that support. We feel that Laddams would be enough with McLean, given how good they were this week together. Tells me that we're okay
Given the
there.
opposition, given the
Yeah, given the
opposition,
opposition. Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Buddy, I think the broadcast suggested that he's the Santo, was it Santo? I can't remember. Suggested that his knee strap up was part of his normal routine, and that he went onto the pitch. He didn't necessarily come off because of his knee. He just came off at his normal rotation, and he got his knee strapped up while he was at it. So, like, if we were to assume that, then we assume that maybe he's okay. But he is getting older. He definitely looked
mm.
like he was laboring a bit. He was bashed up a lot this game.
Mm.
He
All
was
those
bashing guys a
contested
lot too.
marks he took.
How is that? Again, Buddy's going to do the next half of his career differently, eh?
That's it. Yeah.
So yeah, if he holds, if Buddy
Mm.
holds, then we probably just have that one change in the back line to let Foxy in. Would be my suggestion. Do you see it any
Yeah.
differently?
Yeah, I think that's probably it. Yeah,
Mm,
if Buddy, if they want to, rest him strategically, rest him, or need to rest him,
mm,
then maybe you look to rush Hickey back and McLean can slot forward,
yeah,
and then I guess Sheldrick still potentially makes way.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, goes back to the interchange anyway. The
or goes to the
not the
23rd.
interchange. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
twenty
I
third.
think
The
like
emergency spot.
Sheldrick's got to get game time because he's playing so well at the VFL. He's got to have a chance to have a crack at the top level. But as we've seen all this year, pretty much the guys on the bench come in for a couple of weeks and then sort of go back, and that's part of
Mm,
the development strategy, I guess. Sort of top flight exposure, and then actual runs on the board. Like they've got to play footy,
yeah.
get run in the legs. But anyway,
Look, we've got a pretty decent win-loss record against them recently anyway. So last 3 games against them, all of them being wins and have all been decided by 13 points or less. So
sorry,
close
that's
games.
theirs. That's theirs. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Collingwood. That's
that's theirs.
not
Right.
head to head. Yeah. So that's just highlighting that they're doing the close wins again.
They love their close wins.
They love their close wins.
Well, the other thing is we'd probably put in here is that if you think that we don't play Collingwood away often, it's because we actually don't. The last 10 games in a row, excluding the Gabba game because of COVID, but the last 10 games have been either at the SCG or at Olympic Stadium, Allianz Stadium, whatever freaking name they call it these days, out there in Homebush, for those years when we used to play out there for the big ones. But we played for 10 times in a row. We played at Sydney at home games. And the last time that we actually played at the MCG or in Melbourne at all against Collingwood was in 2013. 2013, 10 years ago, and we got a win that day. So it's a weird one, mate. I can't explain why we get away with this, but there's some theories going around. What do you say?
Look, I don't know what your theories are, but I'm happy to make some up on the run. No, look, the reason I know this one is because got a good mate, Cyrus, who is a gigantic Pies fan, and he actually finally moved to Sydney, and he made the point. Of course, the year I moved to Sydney, they put the fixture back down in Melbourne, but here's my theory. I think it's because they got pissed off about the prelim. And so they're like, screw you, Sydney. You're never having it again. There's no way that they would have lost by 1 point if it was at the MCG. Given how sneaky they are with their ticket allocation practices.
Oh my
You've seen a couple of
yeah.
Swans fans on the groups saying they're trying to get tickets, but basically you can only sit in the toilet or something like that. Like sorry, that's obviously a euphemism. Then the allocation is so stifled by Collingwood, who are allowed to set the seating allocation as is dictated by the rules of the home team at the MCG or maybe even Docklands. But it just seems like there's gonna be very few Swans fans there, and they're gonna be in isolated pockets, and that's just how the Pies like
That's
it.
what it is. So, to add on to that, if you are going to the game, the whole point is that Collingwood owns all the ticket allocations. It's not like they give apportionment out, something like that. And so basically, they'll tell the opposition where to sit in the MCG. You don't get a choice. It's not your home ground. You sit wherever they want you to sit, and it's not going to be anywhere decent. The suggestion is so. Yeah, pretty scummy. I mean, it's not like they don't play there often enough, right? So they also got to add that on.
They have away games at the MCG, but
that's right.
And you think about the prelim, how few, really, honestly, how few Swans fans there were at our own prelim.
Why that was 50%, I would never understand. I never understand. It's a home game. What's the point of having a home game?
It's a final, and the AFL
final
get to decide it.
And
then they get lobbied by the Pies because of their weight and their history and their voracious nature. But look, hey, I think I'm bloody nervous about this game, if I can be honest. I'm freaking out. Like, we are, what are we? We're 11th. We're out of the 8th. We're out of the 8. We're 3 wins, 4 losses, 105%. If we'd won those 2 close games against Port and GWS,
no, that's a totally different thing. That's
probably 5th or 6th, right?
Yeah, I mean, we sit on what it just look. Yeah, we're 5 and 2, right?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty sweet number, and there were freaking Port and GWS. Those games are really making us question ourselves. Whereas, and obviously the Cats game was brutal to watch, and I'm sorry for bringing it up again. But a game like this one where we played well for the most part, apart from missing some shots that lost us the game, a couple of moments there at the end there that really accentuated, gave them opportunity to win it, and they took it and did that. It's just, we're doing all right. We're doing okay. Rowbottom's actually been the best rated player in the last 2 games we played against the Pies. So look to him for making hopefully a bit of an impact this week as well. But
why do you think that is? Do you think he's like, Uncle Brian, take that? It's your old club.
Yeah.
Or he's like, I'll play well, so you can call me out a lot. No, I'm sure of that. Look, I love Rowie. I think he's such a great young man. Honestly, I think he's going to be in our. If we can retain him, I think he's going to be in our captain, our leadership group as well.
Yeah,
in the
I'm
next few
pretty
years.
stoked about the way he's going about today. Like,
Yeah.
oh, mate. Well, look, the game against Collingwood is going to be nervous as hell, mate. Do you want any predictions or leave that out of it?
No. I just hope that we can have that intent and effort, and then who knows? If we stick with them. It's going to be like 80,000 Pies fans or something crazy like that.
And
right?
then me and Sam and a few others sitting in the corner.
Right. A couple of Swans fans being told to sit down and shut up.
Yeah,
mate, I'm
Where'd
worried.
you get those teeth from? Mind your own business.
Brutal. Cyrus has got a lovely set of teeth. I will say that honestly.
He does,
yeah, he's a good looking bloke. We've got the Pies, then the Dockers.
Mm-hmm.
Dockers at home.
Eagles around there as well, I think. North at some point.
North at Marvel. The Blues at home. And then maybe that's the bye.
All right.
And then that's the bye. Okay. So next 4 games are Pies, Dockers, Roos, and Blues.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I mean, it'd be good to win at least 3 of those, but I think the Blues are going to be tough. And who knows, the Dockers might actually start playing footy at some point. I mean, North, you never know. They're a bit of a bogey team for us. So I'm looking at 4 hard games, in the month ahead. So,
I think leave it there.
Leave it
I agree
there.
with you.
I agree with you. Despondent. You get too despondent.
I don't know what to say. I agree with you. Intent, effort, contest, do that stuff right. No, we have a crack at it. We can do it. We know we can. Getting Tommy Mack, I think, was a big part of it. Hopefully we kind of solidify that back line a little bit more. Getting Foxy back would be huge as well. And the fact that they're missing the 2 ruckmen gives us a little bit of an edge in that space. So, or at least equals us up anyway, at the very least, in that space. So,
I'll say Heaney to kick 4. There.
There you go.
I'm not saying win or loss. Just Heaney to kick 4.
Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Book that in. One last thing, mate. I was at the 4 Pines Bar at the SCG, as we typically are before the game starts, and met a nice bloke and his family. Andrew from Killarney Vale, which you were telling me is Central Coast.
Represent.
Yep. Yeah, represent El Killarney
That's
Vale.
That's where Sheether's from. And the McVeigh brothers. Yeah. Killarney
Sheether
Vale
and
Bombers.
the McVeigh brothers. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, well, he was only there because it's like typically I'm playing footy on a weekend, on a Saturday, and I typically can't make the Saturday day games, but we had a bye, and so he rocked up. And lovely guys. So great to meet you. Good on you, Andrew. Sorry we couldn't get up on the day. And the other thing is, this is a rumor running around, but the rumor was that the GWS trainer at the siren at the end of the game was yelling and swearing at Swans fans next to him in a very unprofessional manner. And it got me thinking that the GWS really love the Swans game and they really want to get up for it. It's what drives them. And from even the social media page picks up their game when it comes to playing the Swans. They're typically pretty ordinary. And then when it comes to the Swans, they just started getting a little bit nasty.
What about that picture of Heaney looking out the window? And that picture of Toby Green?
Yeah,
Cheeky
exactly.
Bastards.
That kind of cheap, dirty stuff. They love it. And it's like,
we'll just
it's
rise
like
above
they
it.
give the social media accounts to Toby Green and go, mate, they're yours for 5 days, and then he just runs with it. Like it's basically that kind of feel. Like it's from the top down. No wonder
their socials have been feeling grubby.
Yeah, exactly. Grubby socials.
Elite, but grubby.
That's it, mate. That's it. So there you go. And that's the freaking GWS situation. But we'll put that aside. We've got Collingwood next week, and so we'll hopefully get up for that, mate. Anything last thing before we wrap it all up?
Mate, have a safe trip, and I hope you make it back in one piece.
I hope so too. No worries, mate. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. So on behalf of Bob, thank you so much for listening in, and make sure to follow us wherever you get your Swannies news on any social media, etc., etc. We'll see you at the MCG. Until then, up the Bloods and can you Swannies?